emotional people, we're kind of already used to being different than most other people. We don't take the easy road mostly in life. It's not a glorifying, like, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's not the profession where you tend to make the most money. It's a lot more risky. It requires a lot more independence. It's just a difficult life, you know? So, but artists are usually so in touch with that emotion that when we see something is wrong, we want to do something about it, even more so than other people. And so, I'll say like Louis C.K., for example, I'm a fan of his work. So he has a really cool way of saying something that's funny. Like, you know, something that may not be comfortable. A black and white man talking about something, and it might be a, you know, uncomfortable racial conversation. And then Louis C.K. can jump in and say the same thing in a totally different way, and it's totally fine. There's no tension, there's no stress, it just comes out. So comedy is a form of art, visual arts is a form of art, you know, music is a form of art. And I think, you know, also too, whether or not we carry guns in the front lines of different revolutions, I think the artists have to inspire the people who do. Because they need food too, they need sustenance. Because a lot of the leadership inside of revolutions, they need, you know, they're the leaders. So they need some kind of support themselves, something that inspires them to do the thing that they do. So, you know, as a musician, I look at some of their artwork, I keep some of their artwork on my walls, you know what I mean? And sometimes I just turn everything off and I'm looking at these images, and those images inspire me to create something cool. You know what I mean? In the same way, you know, they're saying like, music inspires them to do something with a pen or with a computer or a paintbrush to create something, you know what I mean? So, yeah, that's it.
I know that I feel that sometimes I feel the weight of the responsibility of the talent. You know, and that was somebody mentioned that. Is that you feel that you have to do something with this art. There's so many artists. Art exists everywhere. There's lots of artists everywhere. And even though when I grew up, I was the only artist around for blocks. But as you become older, you come across more and more artists. You realize, well, there's a whole bunch of us. And then you start feeling like, well, what is it that sets me apart, or what am I doing with my art? I can't do the same thing everybody else does. I have to do something. So I can see that. I feel that about what you're saying in terms of your talents and the things that you know. Do you think that? Do you feel that responsibility, and do you feel that art helps spread the message on what it is that you're trying to say? And if so, how have you done that? Like, if you have some examples of some of the things you worked on together, separately, on your own, that have actually, that you feel strongly about, and that you know it has to come out one way or the other, and you know that art kind of helps spread that message without getting into an argument or something, you know? Go ahead. Anybody would like to start first?
Say the first part again.
Do you think, because you're an artist and you know that you can use your art to spread the message, do you think that that's also an easier way to help spread that message among people?
Yeah, art is definitely, it's easier because it's not so aggressive. You know what I mean? Because you know, when you got people that's combative, or even speakers, you know what I mean? It's like there's an instant conflict, because somebody might be like, they either gonna agree with it or they ain't. And depending on the tone and the aggressiveness of it or the emotion, person could get offended. Then it's like, I don't agree with that. Then it's an argument. You know what I'm saying? And that's just a simple way of it. While art is put out there and it's left for you to decide whether or not you want to agree with it, or you're gonna agree to it, or however it touches you by the way you observe it. So yeah, it's definitely easy. You know what I mean? Easier, especially with music, because you're dealing with vibrations. So with music, it's certain vibrations, it could put you in an emotional state to where you're open to hearing words, you know what I mean? Or with a visual image, it could just, the colors may affect you in a way to just subdue you, your conflict, you know what I mean? Whatever you've been going through, it could subdue you, and you just be open to whatever the image is saying, you know what I mean? Just like what he was saying with the comedian, it's the same thing. Like you're in a position where you're looking to be entertained, so you put yourself open to what he said, especially if you like the comedian, you know what I mean? So it's like, it definitely eases the barriers that you might set up for things you don't agree with, you know what I mean? Or the messages or subliminal programming that would get in, you know what I mean? If you're not on guard for it.
Yeah. So give us an example of a situation where you've done that. Because I know you produced shows before.
I'll just use the last project that me and Soul worked on, which was for ABL last year, and it was called, it was a wall we did called Heaven Can Wait. And it was based on the fact that we all had different perspectives on what Heaven Can Wait meant, but it all related. It was just different sides of the same perspective or the same idea. And it was basically about that, you know, people have things or gifts to express or obtain or get across before they pass away. And you invest in that and do it before you pass away. You know what I mean? And the thing with that is when you're dealing with heaven, the first thing that comes to mind is religion. You know what I mean? And a lot of us have different religion and different perspectives on religion, or, you know, what is true and what is false, or what is possible and what isn't. And that concept in itself, because of our different perspectives, it crossed a lot of different borders. Like anybody, I believe any religion can relate to that concept of doing what you feel you need to do and investing in yourself before you die. Because that's the thing, when you have children, it's like y'all want to leave something for them, you know what I mean? Or you have something inside you that's calling you, like there's many musicians that wanted to be the baddest fucking guitar player or drummer or MC or singer, but you know, life got them down and they had to fall in line with just being able to survive. You know what I mean? And you know, it's like, dang, they look back at it like, man, I used to do, I wish I still did it, especially when they see other people doing it. You know what I mean? So it's like you have these things in you that's calling, especially artists, and you can get sidetracked by the situations that life puts you in. And it's up to you to make the decision whether you're going to grab hold of your spiritual self and run with it, or just fall to the side and just deal with the everyday. You know what I mean? That could kill you too. You know what I'm saying? That could kill your spirit. That could kill your drive. That could kill anything you thought beautiful about what life could be. You know what I'm saying? So that's just one example of how we use art to just cross borders, you know what I mean, and express our spiritual selves and our connections, because it took us understanding each other's perspective to create it, you know what I mean, and giving leeway to, or being open to different perspectives in order to create that work. And then it came, you know, it wasn't planned so much, you know what I mean, it's just like there's an idea. Oh, I like this part of the idea. How do I relate to that idea? Let me add this part to that idea. Oh, that makes it even, you know what I mean? So it's just like a Lego set. You got one block, and you add on, next thing you know, you got this big thing that you didn't know what it was going to be when you first put that first block down. You know what I mean? So it's being open. You know what I mean?
You want to add to that, Mr. Soul, just because y'all work on that?
Yeah, I guess, like you said, we had different philosophies as to what the concept meant for me. As I began to submerge myself into the project, this was before it even had a name. We didn't have a name. I knew the concept, the general concept, based off of what he laid down, and it's exactly what he said. But for me, it was once we got the title "Heaven Can Wait," then my, I guess, spin on it was that there has been war in Chicago with the young black kids, where it's like the numbers are insane. Like 50 people shot one weekend, and the next weekend 60 people shot. You know, and so I felt that the concept related directly to that, and not just to Chicago, but across the country. That heaven could wait for these children. They haven't grown or lived long enough to contribute their greatness to society. And so many kids get cut down, you know, before they get a chance to become the next president or become the person that will change this bullshit that we're dealing with. So I felt like heaven can wait. To me, the concept for that represented, you know, protection of the children, you know, and a responsibility that we have as adults to protect and guide them, you know. Outside of that, I think, you know, sometimes it just flows naturally. Like you said, we didn't have a name. It was a building block process, and sometimes it's a call to order. Like we also did an art show for Troy Davis, where, you know, we just gathered our resources, and, you know, at the time we had a friend whose children we spoke to, you know, four of us? Mm-hmm. Yes, four of us in our crew have gone out to speak to these children. And so what we did as part of this art show, they were old enough to understand what was happening, the media attention behind the case, and we offered them an opportunity to express themselves. So many times we don't give children a chance to say anything. It's do this, pull your pants up, eat your vegetables, and do all this, and we don't give them an opportunity to express themselves. So that's what we did, and that is a part of activism. Is in all revolutions or institutes of change has always been driven by the youth, and we felt that at, you know, what they were, fifth graders? Was that a fifth grade class? At fifth grade, they were old enough to be able to express themselves using art as the vehicle to do that. So
they did a damn good job.
Yeah, they did art, and then they did little postcard statements to represent what their message was. And it was the rawest, most innocent shit that you could read, but it was the realest, because kids aren't taught bias unless they're taught bias. You know what I'm saying? And so at that age, the opinions are very valid. And that's how, I guess, with that particular situation, how we utilize art and community activism to get children involved with the process, to get them think about their responsibility in all this stuff we're trying to figure out.
Yeah, I think about the ways that Wonderroot does projects and does work that kind of link art and activism, and I liked a lot of what you said about, I think that art is less kind of aggressive or telling than kind of traditional Western dialogue. I think it's the putting of something on a table, and then you can kind of choose how you want to pick it up, and there's some kind of empowerment for the viewer in terms of how you choose to come to it. I think of a project that Wonderroot's leading right now with Georgia Equality, which is a LGBTQ advocacy organization and political lobbying organization for Georgia. We're doing a project with them called Deconstructing Binaries, which uses art. We worked with, I don't know if y'all know, Fahamu Piku and Jerusha Graham and Andre Ketchen, Audrey Grieve, and Sheila Prebright were the artists that we brought on. And we wanted to make use of art as a vehicle to talk about the gender binary. And the place that we chose to have that discussion was on public restroom signage. If you think of like a little man stick figure and a woman stick figure, this was an issue that the folks at Georgia Equality face a lot in terms of people that don't identify with the gender binary and not having a safe space to use bathroom facilities, and violence, and physical, psychic, emotional, all kinds of violence that kind of surrounds this issue. So they came to us with this issue. We talked about ways that we could kind of move this conversation forward through art. And similar to what y'all were describing, it was important to us to kind of bring in community. So the way that we've built the project